Good evening to everyone and welcome to today's session. There is a short delay, but anyway, today's 240 questions demand quite a significant time to answer. Some of them relatively tougher, especially from biochemistry with regard to the regulation of the various metabolic pathways. So let us make the start of the session. We welcome all our online community. Slightly today we changed the online address because this is a free broadcast, unlike the earlier one where it is a costly affair to offer free. We'll have the discussions on this free broadcast. Now, shooting pains and pins and needle sensation, they're all because of the posterior roots, which are the sensory roots, as all of you know very well. The vibratory sensation and the position sense loss typically occur because of, you know very well, the dorsal columns are the ones which basically transmit. I hope the voice is clear. The vibratory and position sense loss is mainly because of the posterior columns is what need to be remembered. Now, upper motor neuron lesions. Can you raise the volume? Yeah. Upper motor neuron lesions typically include spasticity, hypertonia, increased DTR, but not asterognosis is what need to be remembered, which is mainly because of parietal lobe dysfunction, we get the asterognosis. Coming to the lower motor neuron lesion, when do we call it as a lower motor neuron? If at all the anterior horn cell is involved or a peripheral nerve is involved, typically we call it as a lower motor neuron is what I want to underscore to all of you. Just give a call and find out, is the voice clear? Huh? Now, coming to the extrapyramidal tract, which is that extrapyramidal tract which will stimulate? There is a little echo. Huh? Just check that. Yeah. The extrapyramidal tract which stimulates the extensor muscles is typically the lateral vestibulospinal tract is the one which will typically affect the extensor muscles is what you need to remember. Now, I want to ask you a question. Which interferon between alpha, beta and gamma? You must give me an answer for this question. Which interferon will increase the MHC class 1 and class 2 expression and the antigen presentation in all the cells? Between interferon alpha, beta and gamma. Who is going to give me the correct answer, doctor? Which interferon? Beta? You like to propose beta? Gamma is an answer we are getting from Anantapur. Anybody would like to say alpha? Alpha is an answer we are getting from Dr. Kirti. So, doctor, alpha and beta interferons, they inhibit the viral protein. Gamma interferon will increase the MHC class 1 and 2 expression, and antigen presentation also is predominantly due to the gamma interferon is what you have to ultimately remember. Now, which tract it has an excitatory influence on the lower motor neurons, especially on the flexor muscles of the limbs, is an important question. Yes, there is another audio mixing up. Okay? Right. You did not open the second channel in this, no? Only one channel. Okay. Okay. I think now it will be better. If you have any problem with the voice, please let us know. Now, coming to the excitatory, no, still that echo is coming. Decrease slightly. Yeah. Earlier it was, it is the red nucleus which is most important. It receives extensive cortical efferents and fibers from the contralateral cerebellar hemisphere, and it is the red nucleus which mainly controls the tone of the flexor muscles of the limbs, is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now, in this question, there is a small correction in the key. Still, you need to decrease slightly. In the necrosis of the anteromedial midbrain, we get a Weber syndrome. All of you know very well. Now, in the Weber syndrome, there is a contralateral paralysis of the lower face, not upper face. Tell me, doctor, what is the difference between upper face and the lower face when it comes to innervation? Bilateral innervation is the feature of the upper half of the face, but not the lower half of the face. Typically, Weber syndrome will occur when there is an ischemic necrosis which is involving the midbrain, including the oculomotor nucleus and the cerebral peduncle, and it will interrupt the corticospinal pathway. Hence, contralateral paralysis will be there, and it will interrupt the corticobulbar fiber supplying the facial nerve nucleus. But the problem is, upper half of the face is bilaterally innervated, hence it won't be affected. But the lower half of the face of the contralateral side is only unilaterally innervated. For example, my right side corticobulbar fibers will go to my left side. Lower half of the face part of the nucleus. Hence, if there is any interruption, the lower half of the face on the contralateral side is the one which typically become paralyzed, is what you have to ultimately remember. Now, that's the reason there is a small correction in the answer of this question, where the correct answer becomes A, not B, as given in the key. Now, coming to the Benedict syndrome, all of you know Benedict syndrome is the one which typically involves the red nucleus. And whenever the red nucleus is involved, the necrosis of the paramedian brain, where the red nucleus is associated, it won't damage the cerebral peduncles. That's the reason, unlike the Weber syndrome, in the case of the Benedict syndrome, there is no contralateral hemiparesis, which is a differentiating factor, is what need to be remembered. And once red nucleus is involved, the tone to the flexor muscles of the limbs will increase, and that lead to a tremor, which is called the rubral tremor. In the case of the Benedict syndrome, where the red nucleus is the one which suffers the infarction, is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now, what is meant by lateral medullary syndrome of Wellenberg? You all know very well. It is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery occlusion, which lead to the development of the lateral medullary syndrome, and typically that involves inferior cerebellar peduncle, cerebellum, nucleus ambiguous, spinal nucleus of the fifth cranial nerve, vestibular, cochlear, and spinothalamic tract. All of them typically involved in the case of the lateral medullary syndrome of the Wellenberg, is what need to be fundamentally remembered. Internal carotid artery is the one which supplies middle cerebral, anterocerebral, and hypophyseal arteries. That is all true. But from where does anterior spinal artery arise from? Very good. It is from the vertebral artery. from where the anterior spinal artery will be originating is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now I want to ask you a interesting question which you are going to definitely answer. Which interleukin? All interleukins are important for the NEET PG entrance. One interleukin is going to surface in the exam. Which interleukin? You must give me the number. Which promotes the differentiation of the B cells. It enhances the class switching to the IgA. It stimulates the growth and differentiation of eosinophils. Is it interleukin 1, 6, 5, 4, so many things are there? No. Dr. Siri says IL-8 and from Anantapur we get IL-6. Anjum says IL-4. Sumati says IL-5. Shankar says IL-2. I think we have a long list of students from different parts of the country who would be interested to try their lucky number. IL-5 is the one which you need to remember, especially eosinophils means you think of interleukin 5 is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now the oculomotor nerve typically passes between posterior cerebral and the superior cerebellar artery. And any aneurysm in that location can lead to the compression of the oculomotor nerve is what you are going to ultimately remember. It is the calcium gated channels which will be opening and cause the release of the neurotransmitter at the presynaptic vesicles. What is Eaton-Lambert syndrome after all? It is the antibodies against this voltage gated calcium channels in the presynaptic area is responsible for Eaton-Lambert syndrome, which is a paraneoplastic syndrome which you see in the case of the bronchogenic carcinoma is what need to be remembered. Neural crest derivatives, doctor. Any entrance you go, this question will be haunting you. You must be very sure to answer. Typically, the sensory neurons of the cranial and the spinal sensory ganglia, sympathetic chain ganglia, and the cells of the pia and arachnoid, Schwann cells, satellite cells in the dorsal root ganglia, they are all basically derived from the neural crest is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now coming to female versus male pelvis, it is a subpubic angle between the inferior pubic rami is significantly greater, more than 85 degrees in the case of the female compared to that of the male.